Today, I am super excited to share with you some tips on how to let go. How to let go is one of the most important skills that we can use to break free from the past, break free from that anchor of emotions to experiences that maybe were not so pleasurable, maybe even painful, maybe even some regret, guilt, shame. Having those emotions attached to a past experience can really weigh on our shoulders and weigh on our mind, weigh on our thoughts, and totally affect our mood, our personality, if we allow them to become a little bit too independent of our management, let's say. So we want to manage the way that we attach emotions to experiences in our life. That's one of the most important skills that we need when we talk about letting go. So we're going to go into more detail and give you several tips actually on how you can let go from the emotional attachment to experiences and events in your past. My name is Dr. Jay Kavanaugh of thevibemindset.com, where we talk about how to raise your vibe and manage your emotions in a better, more effective way. So let's get into it. So one of the most important skills that you can master, and one of the most, to me, it's an opportunity for you to really manage your life in a better way, not just from the standpoint of letting go, but from many standpoints, is by looking at the meaning you place on things. What meaning do you place on the experiences and events in your life? Because the meaning you place on things puts everything into a specific perspective, right? So if the perspective is, hey, I can't believe this happened to me, and you're playing the victim, or at least the character of the victim, now all of a sudden the meaning you place on it might be different. It might be, let's say, for example, things always go wrong to me. Why am I always getting these things happening to me? Why is it nothing seems to go my way? Why do I feel like a failure? Why do all these mistakes always happen to me? That's placing meaning on it through the character of the victim. Other times you might have it as more of like an entitlement angle, right? So your perspective and meaning that you place on things is, hey, these kind of things shouldn't happen to me. I deserve more. I'm not the type of person who should have to deal with this. These are the other people. This is them. This isn't something I should have to deal with. Now, the perspective you have on the events and experiences of your life has a very powerful effect, a profound effect on the meaning you place on things, because you're looking through a specific lens to add or place that meaning on things. Because don't forget, nothing has any meaning until we place meaning on it. Let me say this again because it's that important. Nothing has meaning until we place meaning on it. And so always be cognizant, be conscious, be aware of the perspective that you have, and realize that your perspective is one of the tools that you have where you can shift your perspective and change with it the meaning and interpretation you have of the events that take place in your life. And now the reason why that's so important is your perspective, when it shifts, also shifts the emotional value you place on things. Think about emotional value as like maybe $1 equals a pound, right? So for example, if you have this very large emotional response to an event or experience in your life based on how you interpret or place meaning on it, let's say, for example, you give it a meaning of $10,000 worth. Well, that's almost equivalent to, we're exaggerating a little bit here, but imagine a heavy weight, like 10,000 pounds on your shoulder. Very, very heavy weight, weighs on your mind, captures your attention, but very much so is weighing on your shoulders and on your mind because of the emotional value you placed on it. In other words, you took something that happened and you maybe blew it out of proportion, or maybe you let it get to you personally. But either way, you took what happened that maybe had an emotional value, or maybe in a more appropriate emotional value would have been $75, but you put the value of $10,000 on it. Now there's more weight on your shoulders and on your mind and on the event and experience. It's almost like if you were to have a garage sale and you had like one of those little price tags and you put the little price on it. What price are you writing down on the emotions? What price are you writing down as value for the experiences that you have, right? Because the higher the value, the higher the price, the harder it is to let go. So if we want to be proactive, where we start is by looking at our perspective, the meaning, and the emotional value we place on things. And we manage that. We shift our perspective. We reappraise. One of my favorite things is reappraisal. Reappraisal basically means, hey, you know what? I'm going to look back on this event and experience and realize, like, I'm going to say to myself, what value do I think I put on it? And let's say it is, we'll stick with 10,000, right? I can say, you know what? Now that I've shifted my perspective and reviewed this, now that I've calmed down, maybe a month or two has gone by, maybe even a year or two, maybe 10, whatever it is, reappraise it. Look back at it and say, you know what? I'm going to reappraise this down to maybe $100. And here's why. And then list the reasons why maybe you overvalued it. You basically are lowering the emotional value, lowering the emotional intensity that you're placing on that previous event. And that increases your ability to let go from it. Because as the emotional value goes up, the attachment goes up with it. And so always remember, it's always a balance between letting go and attachment. Letting go and attachment. So our attachment is based on the meaning, the perspective, the emotional value we place on things. And when we can manage and mitigate that and lower things down to a more appropriate level, now all of a sudden we increase our ability to let go and move forward and move on and just say, hey, this is a learning experience for us. So here are some tips, additional tips that you can add to this, but already we're on the right track, right? Now, another thing you can do too is realize that where you focus your energy and attention expands. So if you keep focusing on something from the past that happened yesterday, last week, a month ago, or a year ago, you are inherently adding emotional value to it every time you replay it in your mind, replay that movie, replay the thoughts, replay the pain. When you replay or revisit or ruminate over that which took place in the past, you are essentially adding more emotional value to it. It's almost like throwing another $100 on it, throwing another $100 on it every time you focus on it. Because don't forget, when you focus on something, it expands. And so when we talk about energy, we talk about attention, we have to be very aware of where we place it. Because if we place too much energy and attention on something that happened in the past, we're adding value to it. But the reality is we should be using that valuable focus, energy, and attention to either learn or to reappraise, or to focus on how we can let go. And so remember that this is an opportunity for you, all right? Now, the beauty of all this is it's all within your control, your power. This is all for you. This is all based on the decisions you make, the focus, energy, and attention, your ability to disconnect, even just temporarily. I'm not saying that you're forgetting what took place, so let's be clear on that. I'm not saying to dismiss what took place or to forget what took place, right? It's more so letting go. And I'm not just talking about traumatizing things, but I'm also talking about simple things. It can be something as simple as someone cutting you off or something someone said to you at work yesterday. The worst thing you want to do is carry those emotions from the past into the present, because your emotional state in the present guides your next thought, guides your next feeling, and guides your next decision and action, right? So when you think about it, your emotional state has so much control over how you perceive your reality. If I'm in a state of anger and something in the world happens to me, I'm going to look at it and evaluate it through that emotional state of anger. If I just got engaged and on top of the world, and all of a sudden something happens to me that's not so pleasurable, I'm going to be like, you know what? Nothing's stopping me today. I got this, you know? So always remember that when you let go from the past, the way that it can affect you today, right here, right now, is by allowing you to be free from the emotions of the past and choose more elevated emotions of the now, so that you can move into the future and have that momentum and head in an upward direction and make better decisions, feel better. Because don't forget, your emotions are contagious. So if you're letting those past emotions of guilt, shame, humiliation, embarrassment, which vibrate at a much lower level, kind of stay with you, they not only go from a feeling, but they go to a mood, they come to a personality, and it kind of just becomes who you are. You know, you're like, oh, I'm just an angry person. An angry person is oftentimes someone who had a feeling of anger that was appropriate from something that took place in the past, but yet that letting go process never took place. So they're ruminating and replaying that feeling, that emotion, that experience so much that it becomes so familiar that it becomes part of who we are, right? And so think about these tools, think about these tips. I want to hear from you in the comments below. What do you want to let go of? What tip are you going to use? Can you reappraise? Tell me the value that you placed on something in the past and reappraise it, and tell me truly, Did you maybe have a perspective that maybe was through that of the victim? Could you look maybe through the perspective of a victor and say, hey, I'm going to reappraise this because it's my price tag. I'm the one determining the price of what took place to me in the past. I'm the one that values that or devalues it or reappraises it. It's in your control. It's your power. It's your life. It's your opportunity. Letting go is a top 3 skill. I'm telling you right now, if you can master some of these techniques, you would be shocked at how much better your life will be. And you're going to be shocked because you're going to take action on these tips. Anyways, my name's Dr. Jake Calvin of thevibemindset.com. Check out our website. We have a mailing list. We have a book coming out. We got some great tools for you that we're going to share. We also have a private group that we're forming. A lot of great opportunities. Go to thevibemindset.com. Reach out. Send me an email. Talk to me. Love to hear from you. And if you want to watch any other videos, we've got 2 other videos up here for you to check out. And thank you so very much for your attention and for your time. Take care.